Welcome to the Joy of Coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 257 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. I may have just injured myself doing that little dance. I think I'm okay. I didn't injure my neck. I should probably stretch and work out a bit more. Soon. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 257 of The Joy of Coding. It's so good to have you here. Welcome. We're going to be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. Going to be digging into some panel and menu stuff. It's going to be great. Why delay? Let's get started. What's going on? Here's my screen. So, today is August 4th, 2021. Episode 257. A reminder for the folks who are new to the stream, no plan survives breakfast. I have a sense of what I want to do today. I kind of have an idea of what bug I want to tackle. And I might be able to do it in 2 minutes, or it might take the full hour and a half, or I might not be able to do it at all. It might get completely sidetracked or blocked or stumped, or who knows what'll happen. So, we'll take a look. And if we get it done really quickly, then we'll find another bug to work on. That's the name of the game. I haven't looked at the bug, pre-written the solution, anything like that. So we'll see how it goes. That's the first thing. The second thing is the agenda. So we're looking at this agenda right now. It's got all these handy links. It's great, and you should have a copy while you're at it. So if you check out the video description on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link to the agenda there. If you're watching this on Twitch, well, I'm about to drop to you a link to the agenda, episode 257, in the Twitch chat, so hopefully you get a copy of this. And if you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it should be in the video description or video details. That's where you'll find the agenda. That's the first thing. The second thing, I want to point out, there is an episode guide. Maybe you've used the episode guide, maybe you haven't. Maybe this is your first time hearing about the episode guide. Well, guess what? There is an episode guide, and the episode guide is completely viewer-driven. For viewers of The Joy of Coding, and people who send in their notes about what happened during the episode, what were the topics I covered, what sort of things went on. And it's been a while since I've merged stuff in, so it's high time I do that, because I think I have a couple of patches in the queue, so I better do that right away before yeah, I've got 4 episodes in the hopper, so let's not delay and let's get those in right now. So thank you to Smurf D, a prolific contributor to the Joy of Coding episode guide, and we can see how I'm going to review these right now. So Smurf D is adding episode 252 and 253. Episode 252 did occur on June 16th. That is correct. And let's see here. Those look like the right links. It was a palindrome episode. Wow, man, that blast from the past. Also, this bug that I worked on back then is related to what we're working on today. Yeah, I updated to Sublime Text v4. We're looking into Free Music Archive. I actually ended up getting dinged using some of that Free Music Archive music. I thought I could just use it, but it turns out that Google or YouTube identifies it as a maybe it was used as a sample in some copyrighted work, but basically they're like, hey, you can't monetize this video. Not that I monetize these videos. I do not monetize these videos. Even if you've been seeing ads, which I apologize for, I do not monetize these videos. But they said, hey, this is copyrighted music. Okay, so this agenda looks fine, or rather this episode guide looks fine. I think if I have one critique, it's that maybe some of these commands could be put inside of backticks. That makes them step out more. So I'm actually going to do that right now. I'm going to put in some backticks around these. And like this. And I think that's good. Add backticks around Mercurial commands. Okay. And wait, where did those backticks go? Oh, I guess it just it was delayed, but it had to be updated. Okay. Episode 253 happened on June 23rd. That's correct. Those links look right. I should probably remove that. Like, is that still in here? Okay, I don't think we need to like include the fact that we're in a pandemic. Like that was, I think we've all gotten used to the fact that I'm in, we're all living during a global pandemic. We probably don't have to like bake it in anymore. So I'm gonna remove that. We don't need that for future Wait a second. That's episode 252. I screwed up, everyone. Leave page. I don't want to do that. I don't want to mess with that one. I want to mess with episode 253. So I'm zipping around a lot. I apologize. I'm super caffeinated. But I'm going to edit this file. So 253, we're going to remove this line. I was working on more Proton cleanup-y bugs. And I guess this renders okay. Like if you use a dash instead of a star for a sub-bullet, that works. Okay. Closing in on bug 2 million. Did we get there? I'm curious if we've gotten there. Not yet. Still a ways away, but we're getting there. No episode next week, and then all that looks good. So, minor updates, fiddlings. Nothing too descriptive, but that's okay. Normally I would have a very descriptive commit message, but this is for the episode guide, so we can be as sloppy as we want. And I'm being sloppy, but you know who's not being sloppy is Smurf D. Those are great episode guide entries. Thank you so much. Always thank your contributor. Thanks. And I really appreciate those. In fact, there's even more. There's episodes 254 and 255. We're coming at it right now with these two episodes. Let's take a quick peek. July 7th was episode 254. That's correct. Those links look right. I'm going to remove those pandemic edition lines. We don't need those anymore. I'm going to put backticks around this HG command. I explained what Chrome is, the protocol. And then I rate the episode. That looks good. Add some fiddlings and backticks and such. Not the greatest commit message I ever wrote, but again, this is the episode guide. It's our world. And that was on July 7th. And July 14th was episode 255. That looks right. This looks right. I'm going to remove the pandemic edition thing. We are fully baked into this pandemic edition. We found out about the number 255 is a very special number in computing because it's the highest integer value you can represent with a single byte using binary. Let's see. That's an unsigned unless it's signed, and then you can only do 128, I guess, or 127. Yeah, something like that. We were talking about some of the bugs we landed. Mike's good mic is working again. Mike's good mic. That's this mic. Actually, it was kind of risky. Just before this episode, minor corrections. Just before this episode, I realized that I had to reinstall the driver for this device. I feel like every time Mac OS installs an update, I have to reinstall the driver. And I discovered that just before this episode, so I had to scramble in a couple of minutes, do a full system restart and install the driver, and it was very scary, but I pulled it off. But that's why I was late. Okay, so those episodes are in. Also, this Dependabot thing is hey, this is a security vulnerability, but it's a static website, so I'm not too worried. It's complaining about a gem file for something or other. I'll merge this in. Sure, why not, Dependabot? I love it. Thank you for the patch. I'm going to thank Dependabot for the patch. And now let's move on. Let's go to the stuff that you're probably here for. I apologize if you were wondering around, why isn't he hacking on Firefox yet? We'll do that right now. This is the bug that we're going to be working on today. It's bug 1721454. This is actually a regression that we caused, or I caused rather. I won't pull you into the pool of the pool of people who regressed. Your name is cleared. You are clean, but I am the regressor here. I landed a patch in bug 1720534 to update the styling inside of the bookmarks menu. And that caused the manage bookmarks item that normally shows up inside it. There are normally two. It made one of them change its position, and we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I've got an artifact build, and then I'm going to show you the bug. I'm going to reproduce the bug so you can see what I'm talking about, and then we'll see if we can figure out how to fix it. I don't think this will be too difficult. It's mainly about positioning. Like, the position of an item is incorrect. What are we doing here? Yeah, I'm just doing an artifact build. Why would this be so... Oh, I apparently did a clobber. Wild. All right. Well, I didn't realize I needed to clobber. But we're doing a quick artifact clobber. This shouldn't take too long. Configure's done. We're going to pull down all these artifacts or something. Configure. Oh, doesn't like it. What's going on? Oh, because I said mock build faster. No, just mock build. So if you do a clobber and try and just to do mock build faster, I think it doesn't like it. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it was very upset about this just now. I'm going to do normal mock build. And because I've set myself up in artifact mode, that's going to go ahead and download those artifacts. I would have thought that mock build faster would have done it, but it would be nice. Okay, SmurfD writes in the Twitch chat, it would be not so nice if things go wrong if you took account of everyone in chat and said, we did this. That's right. I could totally rope you in and be like, hey, SmurfD, SmurfD was there. And so I am not, I have, what is it? Guilt by association, in Law and Order, like you were an accessory to the regression. I watch a lot of Law and Order. What is going on here? Why is this taking so long? Okay, there we go. Downloading some artifacts. So just to review, these artifacts that we're downloading here, these are all the binary stuff that I don't need to worry about. I don't need to build it locally. They've already been built locally by machines out in the cloud. And so now we just download the binary artifacts and then package up all the JavaScript, CSS, and markup that I have locally and run it. It's almost like downloading the engine and running the game on top of the engine. If you've got like your game assets separate from the engine's the expensive thing to build. We download that and then we run the game on top of the engine. And so you can think of like the game being like the script and the CSS and the HTML and the images and everything. That's how I like to think of it anyways. Because that's how oftentimes games are designed. Not always, but oftentimes you separate the engine, especially if you want to be able to like reuse the engine, is you separate the engine from the assets of the game. That's why, for example, if I'm a big fan of point-and-click adventure games from the 90s, LucasArts, creators of such famed games as Grim Fandango and Monkey Island and Day of the Tentacle and Sam and Max Hit the Road and The Dig and like classic, and Maniac Mansion, like classic point-and-click adventure games, with the exception of Grim Fandango from that list, they all use the same family of engine called Scum. And so that way, LucasArts, their games, I think it's called Lucasfilm Games at the time, I don't remember, but they were able to like concentrate their development efforts on building the game rather than building an engine for the game, because they had like a pre-built engine and they'd tweak it, and then they would script, they would like create puzzles on top of that engine, which was pretty cool. Smurfdy asks, do you save disk space doing these artifact builds? No, I don't. Like I'm downloading, well, that's not entirely true. Like I'll bet you whenever you do a full local binary build, you create a bunch of like artifacts. No, I'm overloading the term artifact here. You probably create a lot of build stuff while you do a local build, like object files, and I don't know if those get cleaned up. So maybe an artifact build is more disk efficient than doing a local binary build. It's certainly more time efficient. They also did Indiana Jones. That's right. LucasArts did the Indiana Jones games. Obviously, George Lucas and was involved in Indiana Jones, and so in the films. So they were like, let's get some games going, and so Lucasfilm made some games. LucasArts, rather. Okay, so the thing that I wanted to show you has to do with this button, the bookmarks button. I just have to find it. Bookmarks menu button. That's this thing. So the problem is that this manage bookmarks item is supposed to be at the bottom. but it's above this list and it's not supposed to be. And so now it's like really weird. We've got these like redundant manage bookmarks things. And the only reason why we don't have it at the very bottom is because this list can get really long. And so when you scroll, the manage bookmarks, this manage bookmarks scrolls out of view. So we want to have this at the very bottom in the event that you have many bookmarks. And when you get to the bottom, you want to be able to manage them. So, so let's figure out what happened here. I think I know, I remember from landing this original patch that there was a chunk of code that was involved here that has to do with the placement of that manage bookmarks at the bottom. Now, if only Bugzilla would respond in time. Come on now. Am I still on the internet? Am I dropping frames? No, I'm still on the internet, so it's Bugzilla. If I'm not able to contact Bugzilla, oh, there we go. I was about to say, you get to watch me have to deal with that, of having to deal with what happens when you can't reach Bugzilla. How do you do your work? How do you do your research? Because it's possible. You can do it. It's just you end up doing a lot more like local database or local repository lookups. So I think if I remember correctly, the part that made the decision on where to insert the bookmarks, because like what's happening is this item here is a bookmarks folder that is inserted after this menu is constructed. And what's supposed to be happening is it's supposed to be put after the separator and above this manage bookmarks thing, but it's being put at the very bottom. So I want to know why that is. And if I remember correctly, yeah, it's supposed to go above here. And we removed this subview button thing. And you know what? I think we fixed this, or I remember fixing this, but I don't think the fix got like put in the patch. I think there's a fix here that like either I failed to commit, because I remember this problem where by removing this panel subview footer button class, I ended up confusing things. This also gets rid of some dead CSS. So like panel subview footer button. Yeah, right here. There's this insertion point thing. And that class is no longer correct because we removed the class. We got rid of panel subview button. Subview footer button rather. So we have two choices. We can either give it a different class name. In this case, we could give it subview button. But the problem with that is that there's a couple of other things with subview button here. So what I'll do instead is I'm going to give a new class. I'm going to use a new class. Or could I give it an ID? I wonder if I can give it an ID. Is insertion point looking for a class? Or is any selector valid? Insertion point. Oh, it just uses query selector. Okay, so I can just give this ID, presuming that this line is only used for this menu. Because if it's used for anything else, then we can't be like if it's attached to different like menus, then we can't guarantee that. Like we want to be generic enough if this is a general function. So let's find out who uses this function, attach places view. Okay, it's just the one place, and it is for this. So we don't have to be super generic. So what we can do is we can just update browser places. Browser, what was it? Panel subview button. What? Where was the panel subview footer button? Panel subview footer button. So instead of using that, we'll use this. And I think that should figure it out. Let's see. So remember, what we've got here is the menu showing up below manage bookmarks. Let's see what happens now when we build this. Huzzah! That's exactly what we wanted. And if we like drag a bookmark in there, yeah, so they're all getting inserted above this. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna have I'll have Marco review this one. I think that's the last. Who normally reviews Places stuff? Browser Places. Marco. Well, maybe I'll have Neil do it. Neil Deacon, Marco. Let's have Neil do it. Bug such and such. Insert bookmarks before manage bookmarks. Bottom manage bookmarks. In bookmarks menu button. And then I think Neil Deacon is Neil's Fabricator username. And then, you know what? I feel like maybe I should go into a little more detail in the commit message. So let me actually do commit amend, pull up the editor, and we can do a little bit more explaining here. Because there's, even though it's a simple patch, I want to explain what's going wrong and what happened. All right. The class panel subview footer button. The CSS class was removed from the BMB bookmarks show all element in the bookmarks menu button. Bookmarks menu toolbar button. But this class is used by browser places.js to know where to insert the user's bookmarks in the menu, in the structure of the menu. Since this is the only place where, since, what was it? Attach places view. This is the only menu that attach places view attaches to. We can supply the ID of the bottom manage bookmarks element and insert above it, which will cause browser places view to insert the user's bookmarks above it. All right. Why is it called browser places? Is it because it is a collection of kind of disparate things like bookmarks and history? Yeah, that's a great question, Charge Neon, and I think you're right. Like the project, I think historically, if you go back to like the very beginning of web browsers, like Mosaic and Netscape Navigator and Internet Explorer and all those Spyglass, when they started introducing the concept of bookmarks, they already had a concept of history. Then they added bookmarks. And there is a relationship between bookmarks and history. You know, it's places that you've been, but bookmarks are places that you obviously want to be able to go back to. And so when, I think back in 2010, I don't remember when the big database refactor happened for Firefox, but when we rejigged the whole like bookmarks and history infrastructure of Firefox, we decided to, I don't know if they were already being held within the same database. That was before my time, but the new database that was created and the whole system built on top of it was just called Places, which is just a generic name for like places you've been, including places that you might want to go back to because they're bookmarked, including tagged bookmarks, or places even holds other information like what else does places hold? Well, for the most part, it's like bookmarks in history. Those are like the main things. If you're curious, you can actually go inside your places database and take a look and look at the data structure and everything. If you go inside your troubleshooting information and you find your profile folder, inside here you'll find places.sqlite, and that is an SQLite database that contains your bookmarks in history and all sorts of things. It's primarily bookmarks in history. Like I think it's tags. All of the bookmark tags go in there as well, and there might be some like additional like metadata about places that you've been to help make our search the URL bar or the awesome bar smarter. But if you're curious, if you make sure your browser's shut down, and then you can open this up with like an SQLite browser or something, and you might find it interesting. You can also look at our permissions database. But make sure that the browser's shut down first. Also make sure that you don't write anything to it unless you really know what you're doing. Just like read only. So maybe that's interesting to you. Okay, I think we've got our patch here. Let's post it up for review. Let's just double check that we've got what we want. Yes. Okay, and we've got Neil Deacon says the reviewer. We'll go Moz, Fab, Submit, Tip, Single. Chargenian goes, good to know. Hey, no problem. Hey, no problem. All right, so patch up for review. Let's do something else. Let's see if I can find another bug to work on. I'm gonna pull open my my need info list. Now I'm gonna do that off screen because sometimes my need infos include things that are like, hey, here's a need info on a security bug, and I don't want to show you security bugs because that stuff is not necessarily public. Got to protect the users. Like this one. Yeah, that's a security bug. Okay, hold on. Well, I've got a couple of need infos I could try and answer. Here's one. Let's bring this in. Pardon that sound. What else do we have here that I could try and answer today? This isn't a security bug, is it? Okay, we can bring this in and take a look at this. Again, pardon that sound. And then this one. Yeah, let's look at this one too. This is recent. Okay. So these are the three we can start looking at. So the first one is investigate why hanging the main process's main thread doesn't eventually lead to a crash. As per title, bug such and such is odd. We should have a hang detector which crashes Firefox after a while so that we get notified of the issue, but it appears not to be working. Or maybe I misremember how it works. Either way, it's very, very bad that a complete hang of the main process flies under our radar until it hits the release channel, so making this a priority. Mike, you know the background hang reporter well. Do you think it could be used to detect and act on this kind of stuff? Like crashing Firefox if the main process main thread doesn't respond for a specified amount of time? I mean, maybe. Yes. Yes, it could. Hi, G Svelto. Sorry for the delay answering this. 1 month. My bad. In theory, yes, BHR could do this because it's already doing the work of noticing when a thread is hanging and then making a decision on what, and then making decisions on what to do with that thread. Terminator. I thought we already had a thing called Terminator, though. What is terminator? Oh, terminator is for shutdown hangs. So if you were shutting down and then we fail to shut down, we hang during shutdown, then terminator will run. It does, BHR is supposed to be somewhat passive. However, it records, it observes and reports, but doesn't otherwise manipulate the hanging threads. So background hang reporter. If you're not sure what it is, this is a thing that we use to like background hang monitor. Yeah, here we go. It is a tool that we use to learn about hangs that are happening out in the wild, and we submit data about hangs via telemetry. And this only, I think, is enabled on Nightly. It's didn't know Mike was streaming from a submarine. Does it sound like a submarine in here? I did something turn on that made it sound like a submarine, or is my microphone broken? Let me know. The background hang monitor, this is like the main thing, and the way it works, global object that manages all instances of the background hang thread. And report hang. So this is the monitoring thread that monitors the attached, like the threads that we're like waiting to hear from to see whether or not they're hanging. So this runs not on the main thread, for example. And we look at the time between the last like poke. Thread is waiting, not hanging. Report permahang. Do we have anything in here that's like crash? Report permahang. No, I can't. I don't think. Let's see. I don't think it would be too difficult to have some kind of main thread hang threshold after which we intentionally crash that thread, crash the browser. If we wanted to go that route, we just need, I think we need to decide what that threshold is. The rest is pretty, it would be pretty straightforward. So seeing D Thayer because I know he has also worked on the BHR backend. Okay, so we answered that need info. Let's move on. Charge Neon says it was a sonar noise from my notifications. Oh, right, yeah. Apologize. So that sonar noise is because of this tool I have called, I think, Spin Doctor. And what it does is it records, it plays a sound whenever the browser is likely to show a tab switch spinner. And currently that occurs whenever you are doing like tab tear in and tear out. Like if I do a tab tear out, I'm pretty sure that's going to cause, well, how about a tab tear in? maybe it's across screens where like we increase the likelihood. Oh, there it is. Yeah, we increase the likelihood of creating a tab switch spinner. So that's just my way of recording and noting what behaviors cause tab switch spinners to appear. All right, let's move on to the next thing. This is a test. Test clone element visually no suspend fails due to broken promise wait for condition check. Before the changes in such and such, simple test promise wait for condition would not handle async conditions properly and would treat them as sync conditions. As the promise object returned from calling an async function is truthy, all async conditions were considered successful as soon as they are called. The wait for shutdown decoder call here now fails due to actually being run and is being disabled. Huh. What is happening here? Wait. Would not handle async conditions properly and would treat them as sync conditions. As the promise object returned from calling an async function is truthy, all async conditions were considered successful as soon as they are called. The wait for shutdown decoder call now fails due to actually being run and is being disabled. Fails. So has this test been disabled? Did they do something to this test to disable it? Oh. Fix me. Previously promised wait for condition wouldn't await on async functions. So the condition would always immediately resolve as true. Wouldn't await on async functions. Wait. Promise wait for condition. Well, I guess let's see what happens when we run this test, I guess, and try and observe the behavior, because I don't really understand. Clone element visually helpers. Previously promise wait for condition wouldn't await on async functions. It wouldn't await for them. So this would immediately resolve as true. Promise wait for condition. Oh, because promise wait for condition polls. I think we can just sort of like restructure this. I don't know why we need to use promise wait for condition here. Wait for condition wraps it in a promise. Okay. It's like, can we just like return promise wait for condition? Like this? That should work. So let's see what happens whenever I just like, let's put this back. Let's run a test that uses this. Ensure video suspendable, which is in, who uses ensure video suspendable? Okay. Test clone element visually no suspend. Okay. Let's run that test. Thinking. All right, well, it passed. So now if I get rid of this and put this stuff back, I presume this is going to fail. Right? Whoops. Can't access property includes. Reader data is undefined. Wrap video. Fatal error. Okay, so what if we do what we were just talking about? So instead of this being an async function, we say return, wait for condition, promise, wait for condition. I wonder if that's okay. Like if we only want to run that if, I guess reader data can sometimes be like empty. Video decoder should eventually shut down. Failed. And it's still, oh wait, no, here we go. So eventually return promise wait for condition. I've never used promise wait for condition. So like what is the advantage? Promise wait for condition. I'm gonna use something different. I'm gonna use something I understand better. Test utils, wait for condition, return. Like I presume test utils is something that's available to me, right? Test utils, JSM. Do we ever use them inside test utils? Do we ever use them inside of Moki tests? Raw Moki tests? Yeah, we do. Oh, I thought we did. Hold on. Unit tests. Use them. Yeah, here's a Moki test that uses it. Okay. So clone element visually underscore helpers. Clone element visually underscore helpers, which is used by these things. And is there like a way I can ensure that I've got the other stuff? Okay, maybe I should relent and understand what this other thing does. Simple test, promise, wait for condition. How do you work? Okay, we pass it a condition function. It's going to run that condition function some number of times. And whenever it finally does, it will resolve. It will call the resolve function. Otherwise, condition didn't pass. Now, is that what happened up here? We failed at simple test 1283. Uh, 1283. Oh, this is the implementation of promise wait for condition. Okay. And it is an async function. And it fails at 1283 here. Because 417. The way it works is it's going to do 30 tries. It's going to await some condition. So it expects the condition to resolve with either some truthy or falsy value. Data. So you'd think that would do it. So we're going to await this. Let's actually log it. Dump reader data. Reader data. Reader plus reader data dot includes shutdown. We're just going to log stuff sloppy times. Sloppy Joe. Here we go. Okay, undefined. And so it eventually just fails. So the service special powers Moz debug reader data. So reader data is never defined. Interesting. Moz debug reader data. Oh. Oh, you fool, Mike. This is a function. Maybe this never worked. Let's see who's using it. It's supposed to be a function. Special powers, wrap video. Okay, here's what I'm going to do, actually. I'm very curious about this. I'm going to debug here. I'm going to add a debugger line, and we're going to open up our JS debugger, and we're going to run this line, and we're going to see what we've got. Okay. So what have we got here? Video. Special powers rap video. It's a rap video. Target. Wait, it's a proxy of some kind. Special powers rap video. Moz debug reader data. Aha. It's not a function. So what is it? It's this proxy. And there's this target. And this handler. I don't know what this thing is. Video. What is the video itself? Oh, man. I need to understand better what we've got here. Video. Pause. Wait for shutdown decoder. If I go back up here, what's the video? Hang on. I need to go up. Man. Let me go up. The call stack. No. All right. This is not working out. Okay, so wait for shutdown decoder is this test that we're running inside of who's using it? Shutdown decoder is called by ensure video suspendable. Ensure video suspendable is called by no suspend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a breakpoint at the beginning of this test. No suspend. Like I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. And we're going to follow along. Oh yeah, sorry. There's a bunch of chatter. Let me try and answer some questions. The sonar noise is a plugin that Mike has that sounds when can't remember something happens in the browser. Yeah, whenever a tab switch spinner might show up. Maybe it should be a YouTube sound when someone subs. Would certainly get annoying over time though. I wish I had that many subs. Wah wah. Love the Lego image. Hey, I love you. Hello, I just entered. What are we trying to do? I'm trying to answer a question inside of Bugzilla. I've been tasked with figuring out why this workaround is required in a particular test function. And so I'm trying to figure out why they needed the workaround and to fix it. So basically, the test is bypassing some stuff that's supposed to do. And, oh man, I think I ran out of time. Let's try this again. All right, I screwed up. Let's do that again because I ran out of time. There's like a little time limit on these things, and I have to do my examination within that time limit, which is a little annoying. Okay, so what is original video? What? I thought I was at a debugger statement. What is going on? Okay, add a log here instead. Original video. No, hates it. It hates it. Gah! Okay. What I'm trying to do is not working. But basically, I'm trying to trace this video. So we call ensure video suspendable, which goes over here. And what we do is we wrap. Oh, we wrap the video already. And we special powers wrap, special powers dot child dot JSM wrap. Privileged object wrapping, wrap. These functions provide transparent access to privileged objects using various pieces of deep spider magic. Conceptually, a wrapper is just an object containing a reference to the underlying object where all method calls or property access are transparently performed with the system principle. Moreover, objects obtained from the wrapper, including properties, are wrapped automatically after a single call. The wrapper layer is transitively maintained. So we don't actually need to rewrap it once it goes through here because it's already been wrapped. So, what I want to do, I think, is actually put the debugger here. What is video? Okay, it's a wrapper. And Moz debug reader data is undefined. Video.play is a function. Pause is another function. So how do I access these things? Moz debug reader data. How did this ever work? Like, is source buffers available on it? Video.source buffers. No. Pref media source enabled. Is type supported? All of these things don't work. Let's find an example of them being used in a test, another test. Yeah, test media source. Media source. I need something less abstract, please. Well, first of all, is this preference, like there's a preference there for this interface. What was it? Media source. Moz debug reader data. Yeah, like who uses that? Set live sequable range. Run with MSE. And puts the test preferences in there. So is this preference set? Services. Do I have access to services? No. Do I have access to the browser toolbar debugger? Here, I'm going to run in the context of the top services. Get bool pref. Do I have that? No. Services. Prefs. Get bool pref. Okay, it is enabled. So you'd think I'd be able to get at it. How do we normally get at it? Media source event target. How do you normally get at it? call ms is new media source. Create an object URL of the media source. Pulls the video debugged out. How did this used to work? How did this used to work? Did I write this? I wrote this. Incredible. Maybe when I wrote this, this was more available. Moz debug reader data. Let's see whenever I wrote this. I first landed this here. Let's look at the log. And then let's annotate. Or browse, rather. Let's browse the tree at this point, because I want to know what was on DOM WebIDL. Media. HTML media element. Yeah, okay, so we used to have this function called Moz debug reader data on HTML media element. Do we not anymore? Because that would explain why this is totally broken. Moz debug. Yeah, it's not in here anymore. Okay, so I'm going to show you something kind of neat. I'm going to show you how we have this thing called Moz request debug log. And we have something called Moz request debug info. Is that what we want? Moz debug reader data? Moz request debug info. So let's try and figure out when this changed. I'm going to show you something really neat that you can do with HGWeb. So what I'm looking at right now is a snapshot of the source tree back whenever I first introduced that test function and when Moz debug reader data existed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in HGWeb, I'm going to highlight these two lines and say like, hey, show me changes to these lines going forward in time. And Mercurial will tell me, hey, around in May of 2019, Tarek Zayadeh, I never knew how to pronounce that fellow's last name. I apologize. Replaced Moz request debug info or Moz debug reader data with Moz request debug info. So let's see that entire diff. Oh, wait, hold on. And then later on, that was backed out. And then it was put back again. So let's take a look at this diff. So something that was using Moz debug reader data stopped using it, and instead, presumably, yeah. Is there media source, Moz debug reader data? Like, that's what we want now. We want to use Moz debug reader. What do we want to use? What did I can't remember. All right, media element, HTML media element .webidl, request debug info. Now, who actually uses that? Moz request debug info. Here. And what it's looking for is shut down. Well, at the very least, we can do this. We can do await special powers wrap Moz request debug info and call the function. And then what we're going to do is start logging that stuff, I guess. But I think that's what's going on here, is that this test function never worked properly, and it was being hidden because of how the promise wrappers worked. The promise wrappers have changed, which revealed this problem, and now I'm having to deal with the fallout. Okay. So what is reader data? Reader data is what? Oh, reader data dot includes is not a function. Okay, so let's just print out what reader data is. What's it? I mean, I should be able to infer what it's supposed to be. It's a HTML media element debug info object, which is a what? It is a dict that has dropped frames, EME info, and media decoder debug info, which is, oh boy, video sync debug info. What I want is the decoder state machine debug info. State. What state is it in? State machine media decoder debug info, which is off of decoder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, what's that? JSON stringify this. I'm definitely going to want someone from the media team to review what I'm doing here, because I'm really just guessing. Okay, we have this big ball of stuff, and what I want to know is decoding done? State machine is playing false. State is pre-rolling, video completed, video request status idle, video sync finished false. What I'm looking for, I guess, is decoder shutdown. And when would that pulls the video debug data as a hack way of knowing when the decoders have shut down? How do I know when the decoders have shut down? Why do I even want that? Hiding and pausing the video causes the video to suspend and make dormant its decoders, respectively. Did I write this stuff? I don't remember half of this stuff. Yeah. I wrote this stuff. Damn it. Apologies for swearing. Hiding and pausing the video causes the video to suspend and make dormant its decoders. So pause the video and wait for the decoder to shut down. How do we know when the decoder is shut down? Audio decoder name. Shut down. That's interesting. M description is shutdown. Shutdown decoder. M description is shutdown. So what do we do with M description? Is that description? Get the audio info. The audio decoder name becomes shutdown. Okay, we can use that. So if I get the reader data decoder dot reader dot audio decoder name. So if this thing equals shutdown, let's see what happens. But you wrote it 2 years ago. It would be impressive if you remembered it. Yeah, Yeah, I wrote it a bunch, like a bunch of years ago, to power a bunch of picture-in-picture stuff, to make the tests more reliable. And hey, all right. I guess that works. Now, it's possible that I don't need all that stuff. Polls the video debug data is a hacky way of knowing when the decoders have shut down. I think this will do it. Folks, I think this will do it. Now, why did I need to wait for the decoders to shut down? I don't remember. I don't remember. I think it had to do with tests that cloning a video prevents the decoder from being suspended if the original video stops being visible. Aha! Right. I remember now. I remember why I needed to do this. So, picture-in-picture, the feature that this all powers, works by taking a video element that's on a page and then multiplexing its decoded video frames so it goes into two locations. And so it's not like just repositioning the frames. It's actually forking the frames. And we throw away the ones that go to the... Long story short, we split the frames. We forked the frames. And there was a bug in the original... in like one of the earlier versions where if the video... would go off screen, we had this optimization where the decoder would notice that the video was off screen and would disable the video decoder because you can't see the video anymore, and so because it's no longer visible, so it would disable the video decoder, and that would cause the picture-in-picture player window to just stop, like effectively look like it was stuck. And so that's what this test was about. It was about making sure that both the video is suspendable, such that hiding the video would cause it to suspend, and then make it so that when we are doing that forking that we do not suspend the video. That's what this is for. I remember now. Oh man. Thank you, comments. Comments about what your test is testing help a lot. This is from 2 years ago, but I remember now. Okay, so I think I figured it out. And polls the video debug data. I wonder if I still... like, yeah, I think that's the best way of doing it still. I can't think of a better way of knowing when the decoders have shut down. Shut down. Schedule update. Shut down decoder. Yeah. I think that'll do. So, hey, we did it, everybody. HG commit bug such and such. Wow, I did not think I'd be able to figure that out. But I'm going to take this bug and I'm going to say update, wait for shutdown decoder helper function to use Moz request debug info, and then I'll have Pearsons look at it. And maybe this is another opportunity for me to go into more detail in the commit message. So let me just update the commit message, add a little bit more. Wait for shutdown decoder was introduced in the original bug. When was this introduced? Did I? Somewhere in my history. In bug the wait for shutdown decoder utility function was introduced. Test function, test helper function was introduced in bug 1521964. But because but when but the interface for the function that it was calling changed in that was calling, and the function that was calling was moz debug reader data, changed in bug such and such. Where was that function? Here. It was in here, which was bug such and such. Due to the way the where was I? I keep losing myself. Ensure video is suspendable. Due to the way promise wait for condition used to work before bug such and such. Bug. The sudden breakage of that interface was silently ignored. And this helper function stopped working without us knowing. After bug such and such landed, this breakage suddenly became visible. This patch updates wait for shutdown decoder to use the machine readable structure, debug data structure. That was introduced in bug 1542674. It's still a hacky way of determining when a video decoder has shut down, but I'm not aware of any other way of doing that. And this is just for testing, just for a test. Okay. Booyah! Hey, we figured a thing out. That was interesting. It was a trip down memory lane. You know, it wasn't a huge patch that we had to write, but like had to figure out a bunch there. And I guess yeah. I mean, we could make this. I mean, you could do it this way. I don't know why it's necessary. Like, why did I write it that way? Async and then await like. Just return. Why wrap it in yet another promise? So I'm just gonna do that. Why make it an async function? I got too wild. Okay, so let's post this up for review. I want to rebase this on top of Central because I think I'm based on top of this other patch we worked on earlier. So I'm gonna rebase this. Gonna post it up for review. And then before I finish, I want to answer a couple of quick questions that came in through the rate this episode form. So, if you didn't know, in the agenda there's this link to rate the episode, and you can let me know what you thought. And I read everything that comes in, but there's a section at the very end where you can send in questions, and I will do my best to try and answer them. And they can be questions about Firefox or questions about my setup or streaming or anything like that. And I'll do my best to answer them if I have the answers. And so here are some questions that came in recently. Question time. If you could snap your fingers and instantly fix one part of the Firefox code base, which part would it be? You know, I thought a lot about this one, and you know, it's not necessarily the most important thing, but it's something I'm personally invested in. You remember those submarine sounds we were hearing? Those like bong. So those that sound is it's an indicator that the browser reached a point where it had a higher likelihood of showing what we call a tab switch spinner. And if you're not sure what a tab switch spinner is, tab spinner of doom. I wrote a blog post about these way back in the day. This thing. Now, it's changed style quite a bit since then. It's a lot less in your face than this, but the idea is the same. And we still actually have it. We still here, I'll put a link to the blog post there. You can read it. The whole technology is, a bunch of it's changed and been updated, but the underlying problem still sometimes appears, and the underlying issue is more or less the same, which is that sometimes whenever you want to switch tabs, the content process that is rendering that tab has not had time to paint and send that information to the compositor to present to the user. And so you have a choice there. Either you wait for that information or you don't. And if you wait, what do you do in the tabs? Like what do you do if you want to wait? And do you just show nothing? So what we ended up doing a long time ago was we decided, well, we'll wait a certain amount of time. We'll wait, I think it's like a maximum of 400 milliseconds. And if we still haven't gotten the presentation, like the pixels yet, sent to the compositor, well, then we'll show the spinner. And then at least it feels like the tab switch occurred, even though the content's not there. And we've tried a lot of things to try and optimize this. Like we've added technology to make it possible to interrupt JavaScript to force a paint in order to like show something, even if the page is unresponsive. And we found lots of different hacks and ways around it. And we've really reduced the number of users who see the tab switch spinner. But I'd love to find a way of just eliminating it altogether. The way that I think other browsers deal with this is that instead of showing the spinner, they just show white. I think they just show blank, or maybe they show the background color. And that might be interesting to do. And I think there was something we explored where we were more aggressive about caching the previous contents of a tab if you had seen it before. But there are various like privacy and security things related there, and memory, because then we have to hold on to that stuff. And I've never really been happy with the tab switch spinner. And the whole like chunk of code that manages the tab switch spinner is this really complicated state machine called async tab switcher, which I'm not a fan of. Like, I helped make this thing, and I'm really not a fan of it. We've done our best to clean it up. I tried like documenting it. There's this documentation about the async tab switch spinner if you want to read it, to try and encourage people to find ways of cleaning it up. But documentation on async tab switcher. So if I could snap my fingers and fix one thing, that's my pet peeve. So hopefully that answers your question. You've been working remotely for over a year now. How's your work-life balance look like? Great question. My work-life balance is pretty good. I don't have to commute anymore. That's a bonus. Before I would have to I'd bike or I'd take transit to the office. And so that would take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic and weather and stuff. And now I wake up, I have a shower, I have breakfast, and I have coffee, and then I come downstairs and I start working. And that's kind of great. I don't have to worry about the commute. And the commute was nice for reading. I was not when I was biking, but if in the wintertime when I'm not biking, if I was on the transit system, I could use that time to read or listen to an audiobook, and that was nice. I also was probably more in shape because I was doing more biking, because I was biking to the office. But I do enjoy the fact that I can just sort of have a more relaxed morning, start my day a little more slowly rather than before. It'd be like, I'd wake up, I'd brush my teeth, I'd have breakfast, I'd run out the door, I'd slurp coffee, run out the door, hit the bike all the way to the office, get all sweaty, go have a shower there, and then start my day. And it was very rushed. And now it's a little more relaxed. And then ending my day, I have to be really disciplined about. That's the risk of working from home. My partner and I are lucky. We don't have any children, and so we, that might affect working from home a lot. is having children. Maybe children you have to take to daycare or take to school or pick up from school. That could help that might break up the day, but we don't have that. So one of the risks when you don't have that is that you just lose track of time and you just keep working, and that's not good either. If suddenly you look up and it's 8 o'clock at night and I'm still working, that's bad news. It's the sort of thing that happened to me in school, and it's not good for you. So my work balance is pretty good. I have an alarm that goes off right around 5:30, and that's when I try and cut it. If I've got a couple of late meetings, I'll take them, but I'll wind down around then, and I'll cut it. Do you have strict or flexible working hours? Flexible working hours. So if I need to go and pick up groceries, and so I have to like follow up on my commitments. If I've agreed to be in a meeting, or if I've agreed to give someone something by a particular time, I have to abide by those commitments. But other than that, it's not like I have like a piece of. It's not like where they have like what do they call them? Auto proctors? What do they call them? Auto proctor. Proctoring software, like stuff that makes sure that you're there at your machine. Like we don't have that, and that stuff's awful. And no one's sitting with a stopwatch making sure that I'm working like my full 8 hours of the day or anything. Like I just get the job done, fulfill my promises. I pick work, I get the job done, and I work my fair share. I don't cheat the system, but the work flows around my life rather than my life flowing around my work. Was it hard for you to separate work from life with family? It can be, especially pre-pandemic. Again, we don't have children, so I can imagine it's a lot harder when you have children that, especially young children, they probably need more attention. They want to bust in. I would imagine teenagers want nothing to do with you, so that might be easier. But you still have to like take them to things or do things with them, presumably. So was it hard for me? No, but it's probably a lot more challenging for other people, especially people who have children, or if they have other dependents on their family. Maybe they have an older relative living with them or something. I can imagine that's a lot harder. What are my hobbies? I play guitar. I have a guitar here. I play guitar. I don't know if you can see this. Let me, this is my guitar. It is a Parker P40. And I play in a band, although we haven't practiced in a long time because of the pandemic. We used to practice here. But because of the pandemic, we haven't gotten together in over a year and a half. If you're interested in my band, you can check out our YouTube page, The Johnson Report. User, what is it? YouTube, The Johnson Report. It's an office-themed rock band. That's how we bill ourselves. So you can check us out. Hobbies, my band. I also really enjoy point-and-click adventure games. If it's not immediately obvious from the talk at the beginning, I briefly mentioned like LucasArts and stuff. I love point-and-click adventure games. My partner Emily and I just finished a different. It's not. I wouldn't call it a classic point-and-click adventure game, but we finished a game recently called Life is Strange, and we really enjoyed that. Narrative. I love narrative. I love story that wraps me up. I know there are a lot of like gamers out there that prefer more, I guess, was adrenaline. Point and click adventure games are not usually like heart pumping, adrenaline seeking explorations of story. They're more methodical. They're slower. There's a lot more talking, a lot more conversation, a lot more exposition. But I really enjoy those kinds of games. I got a book a couple of years back. It's one of my prized possessions. It's called The Art of Point and Click Adventure Games from Bitmap Books. It's one of my prized possessions. I love this book. It's got all, because the artwork is what I love about these old games. and it's got like the old EGA and VGA stuff, but it's also got more modern stuff like, whoa, that's a bit racy. They have like more modern things like, like I don't know if I know that one, but where like Broken Sword. I love the animation style in Broken Sword. This is from Flight of the Amazon Queen, which is it's kind of a goofy game, kind of clunky, but you can play it for free. You can download it as freeware, point and click adventure game. And you can see some of the artwork behind how they make some of these games. What is this? This I think is from Toonstruck. What's this one? Blade Runner. I never played that one. Grim Fandango, a classic. Monkey Island. This is from Monkey Island 2, another classic. So this is a great book. And so that's one of my other hobbies. And it's one of the reasons why I got into computing. I love point and click adventure games when I was a kid. I wanted to know how they worked. I like picked them apart. I tried to like figure out how to dump the assets from them. I wasn't very good at it, but other people are much better at it. There's a whole community of people who reverse engineer these things, and they've built a virtual machine for them called ScumVM, which is the way you're able to play all of these old games on modern hardware. ScumVM is a re-implementation of a lot of the adventure game engines for these games, and you just like you can run ScumVM, load the game assets, and it'll just run the game. So if you want to see the source code of something that runs Monkey Island, well, you're in luck because ScumVM is open source, so you could check that out. Oh, someone wanted a link to the book. Let me just drop a link to the book, to the Art of Point and Click Adventure Games. There's actually one more book I'm going to link to. I don't own this one yet, but there's a Double Fine book. There's a game making company called Double Fine Adventures. They did a game called Broken Age. These people, some of them were originally working for LucasArts. Tim Schafer is, I think, one of the founders of Double Fine. And so they work on Psychonauts, but they also did the remastered versions of Grim Fandango and what else? Other games. Grim Fandango, and I think they also did the remastered version of Day of the Tentacle. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, here are the games that they mention here. Costume Quest, Day of the Tentacle remastered, Full Throttle remastered, and this book has a bunch of like artwork, I think. I don't own this one, but I would like to. So let me put clickable links in for both of these. This is not a sponsored stream. I am not being paid by Bitmap Books or Double Fine to promote these, but I'm going to get myself a copy of these books because I think they're really cool. I've always loved the artwork. The gameplay is great, but I've always just loved the artwork and the stories. Okay, we're almost out of time. There's one last question. Are you still exploring and trying to find new passions, or have you got plenty to choose from already? I've already got plenty to choose from. One of the things I've gotten into over the course of the pandemic in particular is cooking. Baking in particular. I mean, I always knew how to make food. I could get by, and I wasn't going to starve to death, and we weren't like ordering out every day. We'd make food, but with the additional time from the pandemic, I learned how to make bread. Like that was kind of the stereotype, right? Is everyone's making sourdough, but I like learned how to make different types of bread. I learned how to make like potato buns. They're really soft and fluffy. I learned how to make really good homemade pizza dough, and so we make pizzas. And, I figured out all sorts of different ratios for yeast and like the different kinds of flour and how much kneading you want to do and how the dough feels. And I found that very, very satisfying. And I was making like English muffins and loaves of bread, cheese bread, and cinnamon bread and dessert bread. And one of the things I'm hoping to get into is pastry. Like my mom's really good at pie pastry, and I'd like to figure that out. Maybe get the recipe from her. So hopefully I've answered all of your questions. That concludes question time. Someone asks, have you made pizza People's Champ? I don't know what People's Champ like. So the way I read what's coming in from Twitch is I think if you use one of those like graphics that people on Twitch tend to use to communicate, I get it as text. So apparently someone asked, have you made pizza People's Champ? I'm going to assume People's Champ is one of those images, and I'm going to say, yes, I have made pizza, and it's delicious. One of my favorite kinds of pizza that I make is we make homemade sauce. We put it on the dough, and then we put cheese down, mozzarella cheese, pepperoni, and then just crush up a bunch of garlic, cloves of garlic, chop them up, put them all over the place, and then, anything after that, really. But I like that garlic in there. Maybe mushrooms or green peppers. Not too much. You don't want to overtop your pizza, or, it makes it too, increases the moisture too much. That is a risk. Then you get soggy pizza. But sun-dried tomatoes are very good. Spinach. Basil, if you want to do like just a straight up margarita pizza, throw some basil on there. It's delicious. Okay, I'm going to close out. I want to thank you so much for watching episode 257. We did a bit of coding and did a lot of talking. There's no episode next week. Sorry about that. I apologize. I have unavoidable meetings, but I wanted to say thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Let me just switch screens. Hold on. How does this work? I don't stream using Zoom. What is this? Hold on. Let me switch screens. There we go. Thanks again for watching The Joy of Coding. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.